What's up, everybody? Today I am going to be talking about the Tyreek Hill situation, the NFL's decision not to suspend him and how that impacts fantasy football, and especially the $3.5 million best ball championship on draft.com. Is this tournament still viable? I think that the short answer is yes, but less so. And I'll get into that. But first, I just want to talk about Tyreek Hill. And honestly, this whole thing has really rubbed me the wrong way. From the NFL's perspective, they're trying to just chase what worked last year. Mahomes to Hill was a smash success on the field. The public loved them. The Chiefs were an incredible story. They were the story of the league last year. So they want to let the heat on this thing die down, get to the point where the public is not talking about it. And, in a classic PR move, they news dropped this on a Friday. So not only was it a Friday news drop where, people read the news, they talk about it on Friday, and, then the weekend happens and they're not really thinking about it, but they also did this on the eve of training camp starting. So, come Monday, we're talking about Julian Edelman missing 3 weeks of camp. We're talking about Hopkins being on the PUP list. We're talking about how the Broncos OC is comparing Royce Freeman to Devonta Freeman. And now, all of a sudden, we're not talking about Hill. One of the biggest and most impactful stories, especially to the fantasy community, that we've had in quite some time. Personally, I just really think the NFL is making a huge mistake here. They're sending a public message that, it's worse as a player to smoke weed. It's more serious to smoke weed than it is to call your wife and tell her she's a bitch who should be terrified of you. I mean, it's just this whole thing, I think, was handled very poorly with very little self-awareness from the league perspective. This story's not just going to go away. And when you look at the statement that the league released, I think that that's pretty clear. They stated that right now there's not enough evidence to suspend Hill, but they will reopen this case if new evidence surfaces. And for that reason, I really don't think that this is over. I don't want to have a minimalistic view of things and think that this one report outweighs every other report that we've heard and all the evidence that we've seen. Apparently the NFL hasn't seen any of this, but I digress. I understand people out there who are saying that Tyreek Hill is a monster and they would rather, lose without him than win with him. So that is valid and you're entitled to feel that way. But for me, even though I am pretty morally appalled by Tyreek Hill and I don't think he's a good person and I think that he probably did everything he's accused of, we're talking about gambling. We're talking about fantasy sports. We're talking about putting our money on the line, and, morals have no place in business or gambling, or I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say no place, but, I'm going to be drafting Tyreek Hill. I am. I'm sorry. That's what you need to do. You can't just ignore one of the best players in the league, one of the best fantasy players in the league, because they're a bad person. At least I won't be. And, maybe I'm a bad person for that, but I don't think so. I mean, being emotional is not a bad thing, but being emotional with your money is a bad thing. So I think people are looking at the Tyreek Hill situation wrong, especially when it comes to the $3.5 million best ball championship on draft.com. Here's the thing that I think people are not considering. This tournament was never going to be a plus EV investment. It is not a cash game. You're entering it targeting a top 27 finish out of 165,888 people. You want to be in the top 0.016% of players. And even that doesn't guarantee you a profit if you max entered. So, if you're trying to profit from best ball straight up, if you want to make the most out of your money, chances are you should be playing more equitable games like the $1, $5, $100 best ball 12-man leagues. These are leagues that have less rake, 10% compared to the 15.6% rake that the championship has. And also, you only need to finish in the top 33% to get paid out. So, that is a much different story than the 0.0016% you need to really turn a profit looking at this best ball championship draft, or at least be successful in the thing. I'm not sure too many people are going to be keen on entering this tournament anymore. I mean, with Tyreek Hill going in the double-digit rounds like he has been, and people seeing those rosters posted on Twitter, they're going to think that there's no shot of winning. And now that's not correct, but it's going to be harder to do. I see people making the point, what percentage of the top 27 do you think is going to have Tyreek Hill? I don't know. I think a higher percentage than you might think if you're trying to make the argument that him going in the double-digit rounds doesn't really impact things, because clearly it does. But the potential for overlay also impacts things, and it impacts things in your favor. If people are not keen on joining this tournament anymore, which is understandable, I think that provides opportunity for overlay. which gives you better odds of at least cashing. And also, let's not act like getting an elite player on your roster guarantees success. You need a lot of other things to break right for you. So yeah, it's going to be quite a bit harder when people have that edge. But at the same time, if I'm entering this tournament from this point on, I'm betting against Tyreek Hill. What does that mean on a best ball roster? Well, it means that I'm going to be drafting Mecole Hardman, or I'm going to be drafting Sammy Watkins, or I'm going to be fading the Chiefs entirely. You have to think about it as an if-then statement. If I'm going to beat these teams that drafted Tyreek Hill, that got that early edge, that early value, then what is going to happen? Well, if Tyreek Hill gets injured, then all those teams plus all the overlay, makes this tournament a much better proposition. And if that happens, then Mecole Hardman is actually going to be a value. And I mean, I don't know where his ADP is going to land when this is all said and done, but I'm imagining that he would be a 15th, 16th, 17th round pick because, people are not going to be drafting him. And Sammy Watkins' value is going to plummet as well. I don't know quite where his ADP is going to settle either, but I would imagine 8th round, 9th round maybe. I don't know, 7th if people are overzealous, but I mean, that doesn't really seem, very likely to me either. So we'll see how that goes. But, in these entries, I'm going to be making a calculated risk that I don't think that Tyreek Hill is going to stop me from winning. So if that's the case, then what does my roster need to look like? What needs to happen in the NFL for that to be true? So yeah, guys, as it relates to the Best Ball Championship, I might be shifting my videos to more prevalent topics since I think people are going to be fading this thing. I mean, I'll still talk about it, but yeah, I really appreciate all the support I've gotten with these videos up to this point. If you guys want me to talk about anything specifically, hit me up, DM me on Twitter, follow me, just mention me, shoot me a tweet, comment on a YouTube video, whatever. I will see it. And if you want to hear about something specific, I'll try to work it into a video. I hope Draft isn't mad at me for, not giving such a ringing endorsement. I think I just was as honest as I could be. If you're still interested in playing on Draft, you should head on over, and when you make your first deposit, use promo code UPSIDE. They will give you a free $3 contest ticket to a contest of your choice when you make your first deposit with promo code UPSIDE. So yeah, thanks guys, and I will be back with more content this week. Thanks.